Welcome to the 2020-21 Online Student Orientation. My name is Megan Rathbun, and I coordinate the online program for the district. I will be walking you through this presentation. The 2020-21 school year will be historic. We are experiencing changes to learning in the face of a pandemic. It is important to note that there are some key differences between distance learning and online learning. With COVID-19, the district is offering a distance learning model to all students. This model requires daily attendance and can be taught by teachers who are also working with hybrid students or those who are still coming to school face-to-face. At Online728, your courses require weekly attendance, which we will talk about in greater detail in this presentation. Most importantly, your online courses are taught by a teacher designated to that online class only. They will not have students that are also face-to-face for that particular class. I'd like to talk a little bit about our teacher structure. Most of our teachers are assigned to one online course per day. These teachers will remain in their home high school. If your teacher's high school is not your own, you will need to be very deliberate in terms of your communication. Digital communication will be the best option. So let's talk a little bit about that. Throughout the day, it is possible that your online teacher is not actually going to be at your school. For example, you may be a student at Rogers High School and you're enrolled in health, but your health teacher may actually work out of Zimmerman High School. Being able to physically meet with your teacher on a day-to-day basis is probably not realistic in this scenario. The reality is that remote communication, such as digital communication, is going to be your best means to connect with that teacher and find a time where you might be able to meet virtually. Email is just going to have to be a regular thing for you as an online student. Our staff of teachers within the district already use email on a daily basis. It's our #1 form of communication. As a student in an online program, an expectation is that you will continue to work on creating a habit where email is your main form of communication. So making a daily habit of checking that email and making sure you're reaching out to your teachers. Now, English, social studies, and math teachers are a little bit different. They are actually full-time online teachers, so these teachers are actually going to travel to the high schools throughout the week. They will travel to 2 high schools per day and have a rotation in order to equally meet with students at each of the high schools, in addition to accommodating for the hybrid A-B schedule. These teachers will also have virtual office hours, so you'll have opportunities to connect with them remotely or face-to-face. Scheduling time to meet with your teacher is highly encouraged based off of their limited time spent at the high school. So let's say you're a student who's taking English and you need to meet with your English teacher. The best option would be to communicate to that teacher through email, set up a time, and determine if it's going to be face-to-face or virtual. Your teacher may also suggest a method that works best for both of your schedules. As an online learner, during your designated online hour, you will be working in dedicated spaces. Rogers High School has a dedicated online learning lab, and the Media Center is also available to use during your online hour. Zimmerman High School will be using the Media Center for their online students during your hour. Elk River High School is encouraging that all students with first or last hour online to work from home. This would mean coming to school later in the day or leaving early to complete your online hour at home. If you have an online class throughout the day, reach out to your counselor at Elk River High School to determine where you will be working for that day. So let's talk about your course structure. All of your courses online are delivered through Schoology. That's fantastic if you've been a student in the district because you have nothing new to learn here. Most of our teachers are already using Schoology. Most of your courses will be delivered using unit folders or weekly folders. That's going to maintain consistency in your class, so everything will kind of look the same. Student completion rules will be implemented, so you shouldn't be surprised by that feature. This feature requires students to meet certain criteria as indicated by the teacher with each item in order to move on to the next. You will not be able to move to the next unit folder or week folder until the corresponding date. The reason for this is we don't want to have a student who's working in week 7 when in reality we're only in week 2. Deadlines and due dates. These will be placed on items corresponding to the given week, the unit, or the lesson, however your course is structured. In some cases, the ability to submit assignments beyond the current week might be disabled. This is kind of another way of saying that you may not be able to turn in late work depending on your teacher or on your course. So it's very important to stay up to date with your weekly assignments and not fall behind. Assessments. The big thing to understand here is that there will be time limits for all assessments, quizzes, and tests. The reason for this is that in reality, it decreases the opportunity for cheating. Instead of restricting students by having them take the assessments in school, we're letting you take assessments outside of school on your own time, but with a time limit. Use this as a fair warning that if you choose to take an assessment and you are not prepared, and you think that you'll have enough time to look up the answers, you may find that you're going to do poorly on that exam. It's very important you only take assessments when you are confident in your knowledge and have the physical time to commit to finishing that assessment. I want to take a moment to discuss your counselors and what their role is in regards to your online classes. The bottom line is that the counselor's role is exactly the same as it is with face-to-face students. You can kind of see from the slide here that you would talk to a counselor for all of the same reasons as face-to-face, such as schedule changes, unresolved challenges with a course or a teacher, personal challenges, or questions regarding your transcripts or credits. The thing to understand is that it really is no different. Your counselor has the same responsibilities with online students as they do face-to-face students. If you are a student who's enrolled in physical education, this slide is very important. In Phy-Ed, our students are given a heart rate monitor. It kind of looks like a smartwatch. The device is a polar device, and the model numbers vary. There's one that is a 360 or a 370. They're basically the same, regardless of the model you get, but some minor differences exist in each. The important thing to understand about your Phy-Ed class in an online environment is that the bulk of your points are going to come from weekly exercise logs. Given the week, and it does vary, you're basically looking at about 4 hours required to be active. What will happen is you'll wear your device when you are participating in physical activity of your choice, and at the end of the week, you will submit your data with a summary of your week's worth of activity. When you first get to the device, you will set up your specific heart rate zones based off of individual questions that are personalized to you. The thing to understand is that in order to get full points for the weekly exercise log, you need to meet the times within those specific zones. For example, one week it might tell you that 4 hours was required, but you need to get 3 of those hours in zone 3 or higher. At the end of the week, if you've got your 4 hours, but maybe not in the zones that it recommends, you still should be submitting your work. Where a lot of kids have gotten in trouble in the past is that they've thought, well, I didn't meet the requirements, so I'm just not going to submit it. You'll still get points. Even if you don't meet the maximum amount, you're still going to get some credit, so always submit your data. Partial credit is better than no credit. Another important piece to understand is that you have to upload your data from your heart rate monitor through either the mobile app, the Polar app, or using a PC or a Mac. You cannot use your Chromebook to upload the data from your device. Once you've uploaded your data, you can use the Chromebook to view it because it's just a website, the Polar website. But you can't upload the data directly from the device using the Chromebook. So you will need access to either a mobile phone or smartphone, or a PC or a Mac. Your heart rate monitor will be delivered to you during the first week of school. We will arrange that with your Phy-Ed teacher. More information will be coming as the school year begins, so keep an eye on your email to get that information. The other important thing to understand is that there is a $150 replacement cost for a lost or damaged heart rate monitor. You need to be very mindful of what it is you're doing with your heart rate monitor based off of your activity. Try to avoid physical contact sports, water, or anything that might actually get the device into a spot where it's getting damaged. I want to take some time to address the attendance policy, and this is very important. The bottom line is that students will receive attendance credit by submitting at least one required assignment per week. That's where the weekly attendance comes in. Keep in mind that your teacher will have multiple items for you in a given week, not just one, that you're going to be expected to complete. It could be a discussion question, a quiz, reading an article and responding, or an assignment. A variety of things, really. But the important thing to understand is that you need to submit something each week. In order to be counted present, the minimum is one required assignment. But fair warning, doing only the minimum each week will likely not get you passing in the class. If you fail to meet this attendance policy, there are two things that are going to happen. Right off the bat, first thing, you will get an alert letter. The alert letter is kind of step one in our process here. You will have a letter that will be mailed home after your second recorded absence, so missing 2 whole weeks of school where you have not submitted anything to that class. The second alert letter is going to be mailed home after the third absence. And the alert letters are basically just doing what they sound like. They're alerting you and your parent that you've been missing a significant amount of your online course content. We're really hoping that these alert letters, in addition to your teacher reaching out to you, are going to push you as a student to continue and start working in your class. Beyond the alert letters, we have what's known as truancy steps. Now, it is possible for an online student to have truancy filed upon them, and we have done it in the past. There are 3 main steps to truancy. Step 1, you are filed upon with the 4th absence. The 4th absence would mean that you've spent an entire month without doing any work in your online course. And what happens after you are filed upon is you are ordered by the county to take a truancy class at the county courthouse. And there is a fee associated with this. Step 2 would be that you are filed upon again for the 5th absence. Typically, this is going to result in a student and parent meeting at your home high school, including teachers, administration, and myself, as a way to problem solve and try to come up with some action steps to help you get back on track. Step 3 is filed after the 6th recorded absence, and this is going to result in truancy court. You will have the county courthouse contact you and your parent to set up a date for a court hearing. This is not where you want to be. But if you look at it and you think about the steps, the 6th recorded absence means you are missing 6 full weeks of school. They do not have to be consecutive, meaning they do not have to be in order. You do not want to find yourself in front of a judge after that 6th recorded absence. Truancy is not something that will sneak up on you. You will have multiple alert letters, communication with teachers, communication with myself, and multiple opportunities to get back on track. But do know that if you are not attending your online class, truancy can be a very quick reality. I want to go back a little bit and talk about communication. We did reference how digital communication is going to be something that is very important to you as an online student. Now, there are differences in communication between a teacher and student in an online environment. One of the biggest things to understand is that it just takes more time. What I mean by that is that you're not face-to-face with your teacher, so you can't simply walk up or raise a hand for an immediate answer. You need to kind of rely on that communication with email, and it does take a little bit longer for the teacher to respond. As a general rule of thumb, our expectation is that our teachers are returning emails within 24 hours. Now, weekends can be a little bit different. If you send an email, for example, at 5:30 on a Friday night, your teacher may see it, but understand that your teacher is not obligated at that time professionally or contractually to respond to it until Monday when they come back for their week. You have to set yourself up for success when it comes to communication. Look at your assignments, look ahead, focus on other parts or other assignments throughout the week if you're stuck, and make sure that you give yourself enough time to work with your teacher so that you can submit that work. Additionally, more context is often required in order for your teacher to really understand where you need help. Without the ability to infer body language, your communication requires some increased context and clarification. We get a lot of interpretation and information when we speak to people by body language and tone. That's just something that you don't have with digital communication. So going out of your way to explain or sometimes over-explain what you're requesting is usually beneficial. So for example, let's say that I'm not sure what I'm reading about in my English class. My teacher's not there for me to see for her to see what specific part I'm stuck at or for me to show her. While I might be frustrated, I need to clearly explain where I'm confused. I can't just say, I don't get it. I need to let her know where. The bottom line is, communication's different, and in order to be effective, you really have to use these tips and tricks and be willing to over-explain and communicate in order to get some assistance in your class. Now let's go over a couple of common mistakes that are made by students in online learning. One of the biggest ones is assuming that online learning will be easier than face-to-face. That is simply not the case. In a way, online learning is actually a bit more difficult because you do need to master the art of that communication and make sure that you use your time to get a response from your teacher. While you're not teaching yourself because you still have content being sent to you from your teacher, you are a bit on your own to motivate yourself and to complete the work. That can be hard. Another common mistake is ignoring your teacher's directions or requests. If you're not reading your assignment expectations carefully or watching the videos where the teacher explains what's expected of you, you can miss steps and that can result in poor grades. Not creating a dedicated study space. One of the biggest things that the district learned when it came to distance learning is that having a dedicated space set aside for you to study is critical to being able to get that work done. As an online student, make sure that you're putting yourself in an area where you won't be distracted and that you can focus on your assignments, whether that's at your high school in the media center or in a quiet place at home. A big mistake for online students is procrastination. If you're procrastinating on your assignments because you know that your attendance is only weekly, you will slowly fall behind. Even in classes where you are not required to submit assignments by the weekly due date, and those are rare, procrastination will cause you to slip further and further behind and can result in an instant failure of the class simply by being buried by the amount of work that you try to make up at the end of term. Your courses are organized logically by a teacher who knows the content. Working through them weekly will benefit you greatly. One of the sad common mistakes for online students is believing that they're alone. You are not on your own in this. You have teachers who are dedicated to working with you to help you see that success. Even if you can't see your teacher face to face, they are still there and willing to work with you, whether it's virtually or explaining something via email. Know that a teacher is always there to support you. Thinking you will get away with cheating. This is not just for online students, but it does come a bit more easy when you are constantly on a computer. I advise you now to not Google answers, because we have multiple measures in place to find plagiarism or cheating. If you need to paraphrase or take somebody else's work, make sure that you are crediting them for that. If you are confused, make sure you're asking your teacher for help, not the internet. Not being an active participant in class. This goes back to procrastination. If you are not actively engaging with your schoolwork and making it a routine, You are not going to see those A grades. You might not even see a pass. It's important to continue to work consistently and be active in your class to engage with your materials. Losing motivation. Again, back to the first common mistake, online learning is hard. You do need to have a way to motivate yourself. But going back to believing that you're not on your own, your teachers are here to help you. If you can't understand something so you're losing your motivation, reach out to your teacher. We're here to support you. We're here to help you. Use us to your advantage because all we want to do is see you pass the class. And the final common mistake, not asking questions. There are no stupid questions. The only stupid question is the one that hasn't been asked. The last thing I want to talk about in this orientation is progress meetings. Struggling students will be identified weekly beginning with the second week of school. We will start taking that attendance and seeing who's not engaging in their classes. In some cases, students will either meet with their teacher or they will meet with myself, the online coordinator. Documentation of these meetings will be communicated with parents and the teacher of the course just to give a summary of what you and I may have talked about if they are not present. If we have a progress meeting, improvement in your course is expected, and I will follow up to see how you're doing. We may look at possibly placing you into a more suitable learning environment if it's not working out online. Unfortunately, if we're not seeing improvement, it is part of my job to make sure that we place you in an area where you're going to see the most success. While online is a great flexible option for students, it's not always for everybody. I'm here to support you in any way that I can, in addition to your teachers. Please feel free at any time to reach out to me with any questions or concerns, including any questions about this orientation. I'm looking forward to working with all of you, and I hope you are all excited to be online students. Let's have an awesome year.